Welcome to Rev Shots, your weekly dose of quick hit wisdom, where we tackle the most pressing topics of the day for ourselves and our revenue teams. Our show features expert guests with decades of experience. We delve into what works and why, sharing tools to be unapologetically successful, from making our number to delighting our clients. If you're ready to boost your knowledge in under 30 minutes on a weekly basis, tune in. Follow me on LinkedIn or join our mailing list to stay updated on our latest features. Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. For those of you in beautiful Southern California, we're hitting the 80-degree mark. I'm not sure how many people are going to be working today, quite frankly. They might be at the beach. For those of us across the country, we are with you if you are facing the inclement weather that is plaguing a lot of folks as well. I'm Dion Major, your host of Rev Shots, and we are on episode 51. And I'm so excited that we have Dave Stone with us, Josh King, and Zach Saltzman joining us from Citron Consulting, or I might have gotten that not correct, but we're gonna take all it because I forgot in there. All right, everybody. You all know Rev Shots. We are here to bring you quick hits of wisdom from folks with some deep expertise, and these folks have the expertise we're all needing. It's like eavesdropping into conversations that can fix and give you insight into the topics you're facing today. So, Dave, would you go ahead and please introduce yourself?
Sure, absolutely. And Dion, it's great to be here. Good to see you again. I'm currently a senior business development executive at Citron Cooperman, and I like to think of myself as helping companies use technology to, take advantage of and help them grow and be more profitable, including with tools like AI from the likes of Microsoft or Salesforce, as well as ERP platforms like NetSuite and Microsoft.
Yeah.
And I've been with large organizations like HP, Hewlett-Packard for many years, and ran a couple of my own companies, and the last one being a Salesforce consulting practice that was acquired and is now ultimately a part of Citron Cooperman. And Citron Cooperman, by the way, is just by way of note of our company, is a top 20 accounting firm with, I'll call it, I'm going to condense this down, but 3 primary arms. There's a audit and compliance arm, a tax, both corporate and high net worth tax, and then advisory, which is what we're all a part of. There we do business consulting and business process outsourcing. So if you're short an accounting team member or a CFO or a controller, we can provide that. And in digital services, which is where specifically Zach and Josh and I focus, where we help implement ERP systems from like NetSuite and Sales and Microsoft, CRM systems from Salesforce, or analytics and risk advisory, keeping the bad guys out of your company, that kind of thing. So it's a pretty full service offering that we have at Citron. So
nice. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. And it's a really good overview and really excited to dive into more with that. Zach, how about you? Please tell us a little bit more about you.
Sure. Nice to be here. My name is Zach Saltzman. I am a partner at Citron Cooperman within our digital services practice, as Dave was explaining. And I sit over all of our Microsoft solutions, which cover the breadth from the business applications around Dynamics Business Central, Dynamics Sales and CRM, through to what we call core IT and productivity and collaboration services, Microsoft 365, email, file sharing, virtual meetings, all things collaboration, as well as modern work, SharePoint, document management, automations. This all is inclusive of AI, which I know we're going to be talking a lot about today with Microsoft Copilot, and also in terms of Microsoft Azure, which is the public cloud offering that would compete with something like AWS or Google Compute Cloud to host and really empower and modernize organizations with their infrastructure and processes in the cloud.
Yeah, thank you. I love all of that. And yes, I'm sometimes a late adopter, and I'm not a bandwagon fan. I've been a Chicago sports fan my whole life. Clearly, I'm not a bandwagon, right? So Lord help us all. But to your point, AI isn't going away, and I know we're going to get into it. So it's really interesting because I think companies are struggling with it. Employees are leading the charge with it, and companies are trying to keep up and stuff. So it's a very interesting tension, sometimes healthy, mostly not. So, Josh, how about you? Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. My name's Josh King. I'm a director in the digital services practice under Zach, and my focus is in that modern work area. So SharePoint,
Yeah.
Teams, OneDrive, the automations, and Copilot and AI. I've been in the Microsoft game for 15 years now. Starting back with the wounds of SharePoint 2007 and 2010, and
Yeah.
have dove in head first into the AI and the efficiencies that we can gain from leveraging it. So yeah, I'm excited to be here today and kind of hopefully get some wisdom out to folks.
Absolutely, Josh. I hear you. I worked for a Microsoft partner here in Southern California in the 2007, 2010. It was a very interesting time. Um,
Yes.
yes, it was. And I think that the advances of AI and how it's being used, and ChatGPT just pulled in Canva, and the power of Copilot. I mean, the powerful ways to use all of these things, right? I think that's the efficiency, the effectiveness, and the efficacy is amazing. So let's talk about that. So, not to steal any thunder, Dave, what is, and every guest gets asked this question. Whew, words are hard. I'm out of words for April, which is
Friday.
sad because there's a few more weeks left in the month. What are you hearing? What is the number one topic? It's probably AI, but what specifically is the number one topic you're hearing in conversations right now that companies, leaders are trying to solve?
Well, outside of the tariff word, the other thing that is top
Yes.
of mind, AI, a lot of people are tire kicking, and a lot of people are trying to figure out competitive wise, how are we going to stay
Yes.
ahead of our competition? How do we use it? How do we get
Yep.
started? How do we engage? There's just so much information. We were talking a little bit earlier, and it's just exploding, and it's getting more and more by the day, and there's more and more misinformation along with good information. So we've kind of seen that with that tire kicking and experimenting, a lot of employees of companies are out there experimenting. You mentioned ChatGPT. They're out there just trying anything and everything, and a lot of times data is exposed out on the web
Yes.
that maybe company leaders don't want exposed on the web. So it's a very challenging time for leaders of organizations to keep the excitement going and learn about the productivity, but at the same time, how do we harness this beast and really use it effectively? So those
Yeah.
are a few key things that we're hearing related to AI. So
Yeah, and it's you just covered a lot of ground with that statement, and everything from tire kicking to there's already folks using it. So Zach, how are you talking with folks about bridging that gap? Because it's everybody's going already, right? The whole world has ADHD at this point, and it's like, oh, something shiny and new, and the company's like, no, it's an open source. You cannot delete it. Stop. But people don't get that. So, how are you seeing companies address this?
Yeah, it's a great question, and everybody is at a different point on their journey, or has a different appetite to start. And so, where we see customers and clients and organizations on their AI path are a few areas. One is they haven't started ideating or preparing really outside of a leader understanding that this is going on and they need to do something.
Yeah,
And so in those cases, depending on the size of the organization and the appetite, we do like to come in and either talk about overall kind of governance and strategy,
mm,
um, understanding what the ambitions are, what the roadmap looks like, what tools they currently use just from a business application perspective, and what AI tools may be useful for them. But also really starting the conversations just around what what are your challenges? Where do you see opportunities to automate? We facilitate those conversations, of course,
love it.
but starting also with the understanding of we need to use this responsibly. We need to maintain privacy. We need to maintain security. So those are the conversations with some of the larger organizations, mid-market organizations who are just getting started. For the smaller organizations, generally we kind of delve directly into this Microsoft Copilot conversation, because AI is so broad. We can build custom and tailored AI solutions all day long, but those are point solutions. Those are niche solutions, which are very powerful. But the beauty of Copilot is that it is applicable to every employee across every organization in every single
It
role.
is.
There are hundreds of use cases out of the box. Not all of them will resonate with every organization and every person. But in terms of content creation, content summarization, analysis of information, really creating alongside you, it's applicable to every single job role. So we like to jump right in, show them what's possible with the tool, have a few conversations about which of these out of the box solutions and use cases really resonate with you and your teams, and then move towards really piloting this and starting to drive adoption of that tool throughout the organization.
So you said the magic word of governance, and then I also kind of heard you outline almost like scenario-based UAT at the end of the day, right? Where it's like, let's really think about what you're trying to solve for, begin with the end in mind. It never goes out of style. And then I guess the question I have with that is, it seems, and it might be just me, right? Like organizations are going, AI, great, I can go and I can go fast. So, Josh, when you're working with organizations, maybe in a delivery capacity, thinking about this, like how are we tempering those expectations that says, yes, you can go fast with AI. You can go put prompts in all day long and twice on Sunday. Is the prompt good? Where are you going with it? How are you aligning your AI usage? Because I'm not going to call it a strategy just yet. How are you aligning your AI usage to meet the needs of the overall business strategy? Like how is
Yeah,
that?
and we really take care in, we kind of get a three stage process of,
Nice.
doing some assessment of their current architecture and infrastructure, but then using a session to kind of display and show what Copilot specifically can do at a broad range for the organization, and then we build in those use case discovery sessions, and whether it's
Nice.
accounting or whether it's HR, whether it's operations, looking ways to leverage what they have currently to improve and make things more efficient within that group and within the organization. And it really helps them see the light of,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
I do these 5 things on a daily basis, I can use these 5 prompts to
Right.
take that time from 3 hours into a half hour worth of work, and then allows them to leverage their brains for more critical thinking, more, the stuff that we really need to focus
Yeah.
on rather than that information gathering piece.
Yeah.
But it's really walking through with each of our clients and understanding how especially Copilot can be used to leverage that efficiency,
Yeah.
and,
Yep.
and improve that efficiency quotient, because that's really what it comes down to. AI is not going to replace people, but
Yeah.
it's going to, people that know AI are going to replace you if you don't know how to understand how to use it and leverage it on your day to day.
That is an amazing distinction and beautiful, right? Because to what we were talking about earlier, Dave, it's so easy to get fear based. And we all
Yep.
know fear stands for false expectations appearing real. And it's so much better to have a conversation and sit down and think through these things. What I'm also hearing, though, is there's probably more than one person in the room with some of these initiatives. So, Dave, when you're talking with folks, who all is kind of the decision making group, the evaluation group? How are folks approaching this as a team and walking through change management? You're muted.
Rookie mistake. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I think that's key is really change management, right? Because it's new to people, but we see it vary, and we've had functional business leaders, like sales business leaders, in the room. We've had administrative assistants. We've had sales, like controllers, CFO, in the room. Um, Sometimes people will say, hey, I want to get my top leadership, the C-suite, in there to educate them. But a number of times they'll say, hey, we only want to do it at this next level down first to better understand what is possible. And I think that's key. So it really varies all over the map. But the key thing is, if there's some functional business leaders that are excited about it, they should be in the room to understand it better.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I think to piggyback of what Josh and Zach were saying as well, I think if you think about what Josh was just talking about a moment ago, where I've seen the excitement and I've seen the lights start to turn on is those three things that Josh was talking about, kind of that art of the possible. What can it be used for, and what are maybe the use cases in your organization that could be best ROI for it, right?
Mhm.
The second thing is then, are you ready for it? Is your security ready? Is change management? Are your people ready for it? Is the fear out there or lack of it, et cetera? And then the third thing is, how do we get there? It's what's the roadmap look like
Yeah.
to put the right software in place? Like Copilot's an example,
Yeah.
right? What security measures need to be put into place, and then how do we tackle maybe one of the top initiatives that we've uncovered as
Mhm.
a use case, and get started and get going? That's
Yeah.
unfreeze them, in other words.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so is that, I love how you just encapsulated that, right? So question kind of for all three of you is when organizations are using AI successfully to achieve that golden state, are they following that roadmap? Can you talk a little bit more about that? Right? Just kind of share a little bit more information as much as you can, right? I'm not asking for trade secrets, but really like the tactical components that you're all talking about so people know how to be successful with AI and what roadblocks they need to be prepared for so they can overcome them.
Yeah, I can jump in on that one, and I think there's a critical kind of component in the conversation that you and Josh were having, which is this isn't just a switch that you flip,
Yes.
and people are successful with it. I mean, a lot of us have used ChatGPT and have some understanding of how that works, but it's really a different beast when you are reasoning and grounding your
Yep.
responses in your business information. So the prompt engineering and the way that you prompt the system becomes
Right.
very important. I hearken it to Google searching, right? We're all pretty good at Googling these days. I mean, certainly there's some people who are really good at it, but that didn't just happen overnight. And using AI and Copilot and prompting isn't just something that people inherently understand. They need
Yeah.
to remember even to use it in the first place, and then they need to know how to use it effectively.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really, to come back to the question you just asked. For the organizations that are using it successfully, they have trained their users, they have reminded and reinforced the messaging to their users about, you need to use it, this is when you should use it, this is how you should use it. The tools and the licensing, right? It's not inexpensive. It's not, super crazy expensive either, but it's in that middle ground where you don't want a huge part of your organization turned on and then not leveraging it, and you not returning your investment on that cost. And so that's why we focus on the organizational change management. But when organizations are really humming with this, they've gone through a pilot process. They have understood those use cases that really resonate with them in the first party kind of Copilot tool that a lot of people can leverage throughout the organization. We have communicated and trained and reinforced those messages. And then the companies that are really on the cutting edge have then come back and said, we want to look at specific business processes, specific challenges with our data, with our integrating of different platforms, of really starting to pull information and data from multiple sources, multiple platforms, multiple applications, and now start to reason over that data, perform predictive analysis, do machine learning, things that are going to be developed and built and designed for the organization that go overlay on top of their business process. So this is less of, we have Susie in accounting who's using it to do X, Y, and Z, and Robert in operations using it to do A, B, and C. Now we're talking about, let's look at our core business processes and supercharge those. And it's just a continuation. It's a similar conversation, but now we are defining these niche use cases, and really leveraging a lot of the power beyond kind of the first party Microsoft Copilot tool, more of these pro code, if you will, OpenAI backed large language model tools,
Yes.
to fulfill the promise that I think everyone sees in their head of AI is amazing. It can do all these things for me, and plugging that into the socket of the business.
Yeah. Josh, you just covered a lot of ground. And again, my head is I always think in pictures, right? And so what I hear you too is like the beachhead, right? Of, okay, great, we're going to have our teams use it in this small use case scenario. But I think where else I hear you going is like you can almost build the AI bot to, if you standardize your processes, you can almost have that running. You still need human oversight to make sure it doesn't go off the rails though, right? And we end up in the Terminator movie.
Right, and it's all about these point solutions. You aren't just going to unleash AI on the business, and it's not going to read your mind and solve your problems for you. That's not how this works. Unfortunately,
why not?
Yeah, maybe if we have this podcast in 10 years, it'll be a different story. But it is very focused on
at that point. It'll be fine.
Right, on these specific solutions, and so that's really important for organizations to understand. It's identify those key pain points, those key challenges, or those business processes that really drive the way that you interact with customers, the way that you realize revenue, and apply AI on those to take those to the next level.
Yeah. Oh, so funny. Yeah. It's so funny. I thank you for that clarification because Josh, you and I were laughing right over the whole, it cannot read your mind. It is not Star Trek. And oh, by the way, anything that works really well takes effort, energy, and a boatload of programming and guidelines, right? Yep. I always laugh when people, I ask them what their core competencies are, their core values, and they say agile. And I go, oh, you want to be agile. So you must have really dialed in processes. And they give me this look. And my response is, you cannot be agile without very specific lines on the road. That's not how agile works. Agile is not a free for all. And I think sometimes that's the big miss on some of this is where you have all this technology coming in and it's like, unless you are microchipped and part of the matrix, that's not how this works. So, but we want it to, right? I'm being a little facetious and because I want it to work that way too. And it's like, gosh darn it. Like now I have to go and figure out how to write the correct prompt. And it's not, hey, Copilot, which I just did this the other day. I love Copilot, huge fan. I'm a Microsoft gal, and I was creating a deck, and I wasn't specific enough in my prompt. But what's cool is then, like in Copilot, it says, click here for more prompts. And I was like, oh, look at you, Microsoft. So it gives you that training, right? So, Josh, like how... in some cases, I feel like those of us in the professional services space, we also do a little bit of therapy, and I'm okay with that, right? Like we kind of talk people and give perspective, which I think we all need, right? Which is also part of this show. So Josh, like when you're talking with folks and, Dave, you too, like where in the conversation is that turn and that click where people go, got it. I see how to do this now.
Yeah, and it is I hate using the phrase "it depends," but it really depends. It depends upon their want to use AI, or their reluctance to use AI, and how much effort and thought they put into using AI. And Copilot specifically, there's things. I had one of our salespeople reach out to me last week and be like, "Hey, I was looking for this information and Copilot did this, and it got me things from 5 different areas of our team's environment, and it put it all together and summarized so I could send out a bill statement for a client." And before, it would have taken that person 4 or 5 hours to find and track down that data. So it's really depending upon what the person is trying to accomplish. It is a trial and error scenario with prompting. Sometimes the beauty is now that Microsoft is putting in saved prompts, and you can keep your own prompts. You soon will be share prompts to your team sites. So like looking at some of those components of organizational groups of doing repetitive tasking, using the stuff that we use on a day-to-day basis and sharing that out, it is crucial to people diving in and buying into using the technology. We have a billing system where we put in our billing notes, and one of the guys on our team created some prompts to pull information to make it easier for us to put in our time on a day-to-day basis, which to me, everybody hates putting in their time on a day-to-day basis, and
100%.
being able to gather that information and shorten the time that it takes is a big win, even though it's something small. It that time saving adds up over time to a huge amount of ROI from a people time perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, Josh, that one of the things that I just taking one step back as well, and then I think there's a couple other use cases I think, Zach, you even have also, but I think I was approached by one of the senior IT leaders at a university, and this was a couple months ago, and they were scared to death about AI, right? They saw students using it, they saw them using all the different ones that are out there, free based, et cetera, and fee based as well, and no governance on it.
Right.
And the question was, how do we corral this? How do we set a standard? We want people to use it. We want them to be able to save time and all that, but we've got to set some standards. We need some guidance and direction. And so I think that's one of the things that freezes people into taking action is, oh my God. And then when they understand the data that they might be exposing, if they slip a file out there to go analyze, that's out on in the cloud.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden, maybe some sensitive data is exposed that you don't want it to be. So I think that's a really key step as part of this process too. So.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that, Dave. And those are things sometimes we just don't think about when we're in the employee seat and sometimes even a leadership seat, right? So we're just not used to that at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So yeah. So Dave, I know you all at Citron Cooperman have some tools for everybody. So tell us a little bit about where people can find you and if they're interested in what's next.
Sure. Yeah, I think you can certainly visit our website at citroncooperman.com, as well as follow us on LinkedIn, and then also I think Dion, there's some other things that you have kind of planned as well to kind of share maybe some of the underlying details here, but we do have a lot of exposure, a lot of experience, and I think by connecting, we can either help people or not, and we can quickly determine that with them. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, we will also have Dave join us on our Workout Wednesday show, where they will walk you through their, at a high level, because it's a short show as well, about 24 minutes. They're going to walk you, Dave will walk you through their AI Kickstart program that they have for everybody. Because what I like about what Dave and his team are talking about here is yes, I mean, Zach, you mentioned point solution, but man, we are bringing in the change management with it. We're bringing in kind of the concentric circles, right? Of start here, but we really need to think through the entirety of this thread of the AI program as it relates to the overall business strategy. So it's just a drop component to it. Does that make sense for everybody, right? Like it's just a little bit bigger than that. So Zach and Josh, where can people find you as well?
Yeah, so absolutely. On our website, as Dave mentioned, and we'll also share out our emails, and you can certainly find me on LinkedIn. I tend to post there in terms of technical and social media. So looking forward to continuing the conversation.
Absolutely. Josh, how about you?
Yep. Same with me. LinkedIn's probably the best spot to hit me up on, and yeah, we'll share out our emails as well.
Sounds like a great plan. All right, everybody, you got it here. If you need some help with AI, which quite frankly, I think we all do, definitely make sure you're reaching out to Dave. Look for the recording and the replay here on for this episode, and we will see everybody soon. Make it a good one.